with getting the book together and that, and I can't thank Luath Press enough for supporting us again. Mirren, the Gaelic speaking lassie helped us with all the wee nicks and ahn on the Gaelic words, so that was Kira and that, and Gavin. So thank you so much. It's funny, the last time I was in Robertson's here was for the release of the Dundee Gang book, Gangs of Dundee. So that was 2007, and I believe it was the most stolen book ever in Robertson. So I'm due about £10 million in royalties for the scallywags and jakies. But it's great to be in this. Thankfully, there's so many bookshops being shutting in that, so it's great that this is still here in Dundee. So the book, heard it's no bad, it probably goes back, say 15, probably 16 years when I got the idea to write it. And it really come from the inspiration of, if any of you read the books, Mountain Days and Bothy Nights and that, and just the working class tales of real characters. That along with always a bit further with Alistair Borthwick and that. So I always thought there's a lot of the NCR boys here tonight that were involved in what you'll read. I always thought that we had a lot of stories ourselves. Johnny Vida, where are you? Other boys will be sick reading this because every bothy we're at Johnny's, Johnny Reid tells other stories again, so you'll know how to bet. But, nah, I thought, come on, we've got a story to tell as well, and I'm not just saying it, I honestly think we a lot of the other stuff that's out there, this is definitely not just we climbed up a hill and went back down. There's a wee bit of drink involved, probably a lot of drink. So about 16 years ago I started writing it, and I wrote about 30,000 words. I contacted Gavin at Luath, and he was like interested, and then went to Luath on a few other journeys, writing plays and with the band, with the Gundies and that. So the mountain book kind of gathered dust. So about 8 years ago, I think, I went back to it and reread it and said, that's a load of pish. I put it away again, and it was probably about 3 years ago. Spoke to Gavin again. What about he says, yeah, we're interested. So started from scratch, and I'm so glad I did, because there was another 15 years of capers. But it goes back to the NCR, where a lot of the guys worked. The club formed in 1949, and the NCR came to Dundee in 1947. So they were very encouraging with other clubs, basketball, golf. Brian Mann, dug up other old magazines for the cash, which had the gold matches in the factory. They didn't care of this. And I was just reading any of them. The guy, Ken Murray, I think his name was, ex-SAS guy, he was with David Stirling in Warner, and he was putting together a parachuting club. And it's like, I'm glad we never cared about that. It was the States we were in, there would have been boys going out the planes with no parachutes. But no, it was great. The NCR was a great place to work. Like I say, they did encourage, and they funded a lot of the clubs, helped them along. And the NCR club was founded by Frank Anderson. And I was dead lucky to interview Frank. He was in his 90s, him and Gibby Gray, just to get the early stories of how it come about. And that really was the start of it. So you can imagine the 1940s and 50s, the gear was terrible. But there were people, women, kids and that, were going out on the day nights to Glendalough and Glenclough and that. they were kind of the local house and Loch in the garden that. And then started stretching a bit further. So the story just goes through. There's a great story. I'm not wanting to spoil. I'm not going to read any of these stories. You can read them yourself. But there was a great story in 1953. A few of the guys decided to go and climb the Matterhorn. He says, we'll just hitch to Bern in Switzerland. Not got a penny. So they camped out of the way. It took them days and days. Got to Bern, and the mountain guide there says it's going to cost you 20 quid to take you up. In danger, 20 quid. That was like £1 million. So he says, well, we'll go and climb someone else. So they went climbing Wellencoop, I think the mountain is. No guide or nothing. Just managed to get up and safely down. There was rock falls, deep snow. And it's just a wee piece in there, but it's so played down. Probably took them another 3 or 4 days to hitch him and that. It's just crazy. So the way the club went, started the weekenders, I think the late 50s, and started getting tents of all sorts, and then through the 60s and 70s. And the 70s really they start with probably the big boss, the 52-seaters, going to like a King Tail and that. Probably took them about 3 months to get up there in the old roads. But these tent villages would just spring up. It was always rough camping for keeping the money for the pub. There was no paying at sites or nothing. So the 70s really was the start of the party times on the bus and stopping off at the pubs. And, usually a half-hour stop, going about the northwest, would turn into a couple of hours, and everybody's passed. Trying to get, I don't care if any of perfect boys, trying to get a tent up when you're bloated.
I remember Mark Boyd pitched in his tent for the sky, and the midges were that bad that you couldn't be bothered putting the poles up. He just slipped up and crawled in.
Oh, there.
Did you try putting a tent up in a lay-by? The pegs would go in the concrete. It was so good.
I done that in Port along, I think, trying to get pegs in the tarmac. No, I mean, for any of you that like a wee swally, or probably a good swally, I don't care what you think about, like getting absolutely bloated, getting up in the morning with the worst hangover ever, and going down 10, 15, 20 mile, whatever, thousands of feet of climbing, it's not the best preparation. that was the way we done it, and I think that's the fun, the camaraderie we had the boys and the lassies and all that used to come in. It really was that kind of club. We were kind of like the Dirty Dozen. More than that, but the Dirty Dozen, it was just a real great time through the 80s. I've been going out, I think, 35 years now, but Ronnie, Geordie and that, a lot of the boys have been 80 years you've been going. There's a lot of the characters in here that you'll read in the book. Some names have been changed, but the famous Ronnie Mack and Geordie, big Geordie up the back, they were the dangerous brothers. Honestly, feared when they come into the equation with these boys, and a few of them got 10 on the tours with them. And Ronnie's famous quote was always like doing a vertical fist, and how's it doing there? And Ronnie, it's fine, no bother. Hanging on for grim day. But Ronnie and Geordie are just, the stories are on there. It's been, I'm really proud of it just to get it out there and let you read out the story. Thank you all so much for coming along to support this, and hopefully you'll enjoy the wee tales that are in there. They really are just thick and fast. It's not just a whole chapter or one story. It's just doing the stories are in. I mean, I think setting your tent on fire is a bottle of emergency. Just so we are not get too much aware, but Big Geordie's tent went on fire and thought the gas canister was empty. Threw it in the foyer. Sparked up the next thing. The next thing, the fireballs through the tent. Geordie's at the back of the tent. Help! I think it was Mikey Fitz's girlfriend come in and threw a pint of malt over Geordie. I didn't put the fire out, but
You know, cut his way at the back.
I could, would you? You cut your way out the back. Anyway,
Some socks and towels and things like that.
yeah.
And there's a story about you. There's some stories never made the book. It's maybe volume 2. But setting tents on fire and there was the few spooky stories in the Bothies and camp. But anyway, I've blathered enough. Thank you all so much for coming along. Some of you have come from far Inverness and Arley, so I really appreciate that. East Coast Guide. Thanks a million. I'm going to stop blathering. We'll be going to the boozer if we need the market after I had settled. If anybody fancies